we're having a 15-minute brainstorm, which is not very much time, on what are the next steps that we need to take for the UK. So we'd really, really love your top thoughts, whether you're based in the UK or particularly looking into the UK from America and India, where you're so much further ahead than us in many ways in this space. I mean, we've had fantastic input already from you around diversity of income, around impact, around voice, around collaboration. But please put your ideas into the chat if you haven't got time to say them, but we'd love to actually hear from you, especially if we haven't heard from any of you and from our existing speakers. So over to you.
I think that if there are any organizing principles in terms of collaborations, I would say, you know, whether it's regionally or ethnically or whatever, I think trying to experiment with how you can work collaboratively for greater reach and impact. There are a lot of collaboratives in the US right now, and they're more and more. I mean, nobody knows for sure how to crack the code, but I do think that there are opportunities for greater impact when you do collaborate. But you have to have people who are, everybody's got to be kind of equally yoked. They've got to, and they've got to be equally invested. And the last thing I would say is, if there's a financial incentive, that always sweetens the pot. So, you know, collaborations just for collaboration's sake can like be very uneven, but if there's money involved, that especially for local smaller newsrooms, money is really important. It can really make the commitment more tangible. So,
and when you say money, do you mean money coming in from a philanthropist or a Google News initiative or something like that? Or do you mean the thinking, oh, if we collaborate, we can get more advertising or we can get more members? Or...
I mean, it could be any of the above, but I know that one of the collaboratives that we've participated in Philadelphia is called Resolve Philly. And one of the ways that they really incentivize participation is that they get money from funders, from philanthropic organizations, which is the way that they're funded. And then they incentivize the participating media organizations by, I mean, they're not huge grants. They're maybe like $3,000 or $5,000, but it's not just, oh, come and sit around and do a bunch of meetings and give us your best ideas, and then we'll go and spend the money. No, it's like, it definitely, you know, it just allows you to benefit tangibly. In fact, because again, I don't know about in the UK, but I'm assuming it's the same. You know, for small media organizations, local organizations, money is at the center. You need money to do the work. And so to the extent you can fund and provide financial resources to these organizations, however, every step along the way, it's going to be more meaningful and more sustainable, is what I would say.
Yeah, I saw some great collaboratives in the States, actually, like in Detroit. And it's local organizations working with the mainstream media. So it's not only about financial collaboration, but it's about stories circulating and getting more voices and stories and into mainstream media. Vince, you have your hand up. Jump in.
Yeah, so I just want to maybe elaborate a little bit on this last point, I think, and that is maybe one of the dynamics that we're a little bit ahead of you on is there's a lot of media funding going on. I think a lot of people would say, like, we need to get people to move from the sidelines into the game and supporting, but actually there are a lot of funders, but they're so isolated and individuated that you don't necessarily know who they are. And so like
in the UK, Vince, do you mean?
Well, in the US, and probably I'm guessing that it's also equally true. Right. And so I think there's a tendency in that dynamic to think like we have a funder and they give a grant to us, but we're not going to share that knowledge with anybody else on the call or any other. We view that like the organization views that as a monogamous relationship, but in fact, the funders are polyamorous and they're making grants to a lot of different groups. That no funder is making one check to one organization. And so I think something that might be hard for people to really, get their head around is it's better for me to, introduce my funder to other funders, to other organizations. If it's worthwhile work for them to support, maybe we can encourage them to do more and get a community of practice among funders who could see that the impact is valuable and that their opportunity to work together as funders is something that they'd actually want to do. And I think that we've seen maybe a decade of growth in the collaboration among funders alongside the collaborations that are happening among the practitioners too. But you could maybe accelerate that process by making some more introductions among your funders and not treating them, those relationships so close to the vest.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think that's a really strong thing for us to do. I'd love to bring Tracy in, if you're still there, around actually the academic side, because I think we could be doing more. I was very impressed by how much support was coming from universities across the States. Look like your mapping exercise. Is Tracy still with us, or is she gone?
I'm here.
Yeah, hi Tracy, sorry, I can't see clearly who's here. Can you just talk to us a little bit about whether in the UK we could mirror some of the initiatives that are happening in the academic world in the States that are really effective? What would you think are one or two key things that you think really are helping, like the mapping? Or
So I'm not sure that I'm the best person to ask about this. I mean, I'm doing some research now at Harvard as a fellow. Universities, as you know, are kind of slow to respond to what's happening on the ground in journalism, but I think there are some exceptions to that rule here. We have CUNY, the City University of New York, who has worked a great deal in helping in working with independent local news outlets in terms of procuring advertising dollars from city government. So because of that work, now the city of New York has to spend, and I forget the percentage, but they have to spend a certain percentage of their advertising dollars with independent community news organizations. So that was incredible coming from an academic institution. The Tao Center is another one. They do incredible work in terms of design and learning and impact. And so I think that is probably another avenue that can be kind of not beefed up, but duplicated by other institutions. Stanford, I was a JSK fellow at Stanford, and they've done some incredible work as well. In fact, Sarah is part of their most recent cohort of independent media entrepreneurs. When I participated as a JSK fellow, it was the full year-long program, and there were, I think, Sarah Alvarez, who founded Outlier, she founded it at JSK as a fellow, and there may have been two or three others of us who were entrepreneurs. But now I think the entire cohort at JSK are entrepreneurs. So I think providing vehicles that gives entrepreneurs space to figure out how to proceed, how to best grow. One of the things that Stanford offered that I gained so much from is that they had a center for social impact. So a whole center dedicated and focused on social impact investing. And so since I was on campus, of course, that was one of the first doors that I knocked on to help me better understand what was needed in the entrepreneurial space. So I think, another thing that we're trying to work, that we're working on right now, the University of Georgia, my alma mater, has partnered with a local news outlet that's in Oglethorpe, Georgia. It's probably 20 minutes away from Athens. They have partnered. That small community news outlet was about to close. And so they partnered with the university. Students now staff their newsroom, and they are supervised by faculty from the university. Now, I know it requires a whole lot of paperwork and crossing T's and dotting I's, but they formed a nonprofit organization to hold it because the university couldn't hold it. The nonprofit holds it, but they tap into the expertise of faculty and the manpower of the students to help that news outlet continue. So there are lots of creative, innovative things happening in this space right now because of the contraction of local news organizations. Universities are having to step into the gap. And you can see that happening in places like Gainesville, Florida. You can see it happening in places in Texas. Now it's happening at the University of Georgia and Athens.
And a quick,
so there's lots of stuff happening.
A quick question around these sort of initiatives that are working with the universities. Are the universities, whether it's for developing entrepreneurial skills in media or for whatever reason, are they working with the philanthropists? So is there a sort of cycle of philanthropy money going into the academic support organizations, going into the actual media companies, going into all the networking organizations that you have that do training, and community media organizations and things like this?
That's the question. So the Pivot Fund is trying to work on some of that, pieces of that as well. But I think the best example of that is that nonprofit in Oglethorpe, Georgia, that established this new relationship between the University of Georgia and this newspaper that was about to go out of business. That is so, and because there is a greater understanding among philanthropists that they have to step into this information gap that's impacting the strength of our democracy. Lots of people are now realizing, oh, there's money. And so, yes, even universities are eyeing nonprofit dollars to, help, stand up some of their programming and.
But that's good, probably. Other thoughts?
It can be good. It can be good. I mean, academia is a lot of bureaucracy there. And when you're in the news business, you have to, for lack of a better term, you have to know when to pivot. You have to, you have to react. We got deadlines, we got stuff is happening in the media landscape. It's crazy. And so we have to be able to respond to that quickly. And academia does not always know how to respond quickly.
Yeah, it's a very different culture.
Yes.
And just quickly for like Oshin and Padma has had to go now, but do you think in the UK we should be trying to persuade impact investors, so angel investors, impact investors, commercial investors? Oshin, you said the Vodafone money for Dimant and the Better India was the tipping point to scale it. Do you think that we should be looking at that in the UK? There's a kind of rather weak impact investment movement here that could scale enormously. I don't think they put money into media projects at all, into impact media. Is that something? What do you all think about that? Oshin, do you want to just comment on the Better India experience and with your Deloitte hat on as well, for your background there?
Yeah, so I'll tell you. Just from an impact investment space, I think it's not just impact investors who are actually looking to invest in impactful or organizations that are actually looking, doing just impact work, right? So it's all the commercial investors also today. They're very open to investing in impact organizations because, with the whole for-profit, for-cause kind of organizations coming up, and just the world moving towards purpose and cause, and brands are also moving towards being more purposeful. So I think like the entire sort of corporate community and the investment, this thing, they're all actually moving towards impact in general. So definitely having like, funds with impact focus helps. But yeah, like otherwise also, like, if you can justify sort of, your revenues in a certain way, and you know that, okay, it can be a sustainable stream of revenues, I think even the traditional organizations that, fund businesses should be open to it.
We now have 1 minute left for me to thank everybody, so I'm going to have to overrun a little bit, and then we've got half an hour. If you want to stay on and network and chat to each other on the chat, you're really, really, really welcome. I want to first of all thank these amazing speakers. We've had a sort of fantastic, very fast, deep dive, but not nearly deep enough actually, into what you're doing. And I want to bring you all back for a special one-to-ones seminars where we can hear you speak for at least half an hour. But my thanks go to Martin from Positive News, Nafisa from Muslim Mamas, Seamus from Block Club Chicago, Adam from the Bristol Cable, Tracy from the Pivot Fund and Shorenstein, Daniel from the Chicago Community Trust, Padma from Suno India, and you must listen to their podcasts, Vince from the Media Impact Funders Initiative, which is so unique, Oshin for stepping in at the last minute for the Better India to replace Dimant, and we wish him well, Sarah from the two amazing initiatives that you run, the Word Radio and URL Media. And last but not least, Daniel from Social Spider, and your newspapers, who is developing a really interesting model. Thank you all so much. And a very big thank you to the Churchill Fellowship for paying for me, and the Rank Foundation for paying for me to have the privilege of traveling in the States and India to meet everybody. I really want to thank my helpers, Sausan, who's helped with the social media so much to promote this event, Subi and Gary, who's helped with the technology, and then also organizations like the Community Media Association here who've promoted this event as well. There's follow-up sessions, follow-up Fridays in February to help any of the UK organizations who want extra input and support. And also we'll be doing a conference report, and I'll circulate my Churchill Fellowship report to all of you as well. So I hope that we will continue to be in touch and to do more events. And I'll be sending out a feedback survey. So please fill it in as much as you can and suggest different formats, different things that we can do to create and really build and grow a movement for impact media and to support each other. I think one of the most important messages that have come across today is that sense that if we work together and if we collaborate and if we share our vision and our practice and our joys and our challenges in doing this, we can really have impact. So a big thank you to everybody, especially our speakers, but also our delegates as well, and for being so patient and staying on for so long. We've had lovely chat messages coming through of thanks. So please stay on now. We're going to close the formal part of the conference, but if you'd like to stay on and chat and connect and share emails and all the rest of it, you're very, very welcome. Big, big, big thank you to our speakers from India and the States as well.